Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit podcast. I am super excited for today's episode because we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is not our typical Q&A interview style episode. What we're going to be doing is is way different and way better. We're going to be doing a deep dive into my friend here, Jim Ross, and we are going to be looking at an upcoming summit that he has. So we're going to do a summit consultation. We're going to record this live, no editing, nothing removed. You're going to get to hear the good, the bad, and the beneficial, all here live with me and Jim. And Jim, I got to thank you straightforward for being so open and transparent and letting us kind of take a look behind the kimono here. Thanks for being with us.
I really appreciate it. This is going to be fun.
Oh, we are going to have a blast. And we're going to get into your summit idea and summit topic here in just a second. So why don't you, and I do want to say for everybody listening in, if you are a summit newbie, you haven't hosted a summit yet, and you're considering hosting a summit, but you would like to get some help or information, reach out to us, and maybe you could be one of the lucky people, one of our lucky summit newbies on one of the upcoming episodes. So now, Jim, let's jump into it. I want to get deep and dirty into your summit. So why don't you give me a little bit of background on you, your kind of expertise in the topic of your summit?
Yeah, great. Again, my name is Jim Ross. I'm in the self-storage industry. That's my niche. I've been in storage for about 20 years now. And I started a little while ago doing a podcast, quite frankly. I'm just getting content and getting things going out there and interviewing a bunch of people in my industry. And yeah, it just came across my mind about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, quite frankly, of like, I want to be able to do something like this and do a conference, because there's conferences in my industry. You know, the storage nerds get together and have their conferences in Vegas and things like that. But there's only so many people that can attend those kind of things. And there's a lot of people that I want to get the information to that don't physically go to those kind of things. So I was like, there's got to be a way to do that virtually, you know, as much as possible, kind of get that package and bring it out to those in my field and bring that value. So quick Google search and I came across virtual summit term and I'm like, what does that mean? And that led me to you.
Excellent. So, and I'm glad it led you here because we are going to rock and roll with your summit. So let's kind of give me the idea behind your summit. Like what is, I mean, I can see that it's the self-storage summit, but what's your goal with it? What are you trying to do with it? Maybe what's the topic, or just give me a little insights into this summit.
Yeah. And again, this is maybe, a first time newbie mistake kind of thing, learn as I go. But I put it out there when I had the idea, first of all, like, okay, I want to do a summit. So I just said a self-storage summit is coming. I just made a graphic, threw it on my social media following, and it was insane. And people were like, I want to be a part of it. How much? And can I speak? And it was just crazy. So I actually said yes to a lot of speakers up front. They're all my friends and that kind of thing, but I said yes to a lot of speakers. So it's kind of a broad term for this first summit. Like I said, I'm trying to kind of recreate some of these conferences that they have, and they're multi-day conferences and they cover a lot of ground. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this summit here, is kind of just getting into the business, having that foundation built, to the end of actually having good operations and good manager trainings and sales and kind of everything in between.
We've done the unthinkable. We've convinced 35 of the most successful summit hosts, coaches, and consultants to give you their prized possession, their summit email copy. Get more information at summitscripts.com.
So the attendee, then the avatar, is going to be a owner of self-storage like units or companies, or
Yeah, there's going to be stuff for the owner, kind of day one, and that's thank you for you. I've actually kind of helped plan my days that way. But day one's kind of like more for the owner operator getting into the business, understanding the financial part of it, and the feasibility studies, and that kind of part of it. Then I have more of the final 2 days are more for the operators, those that run the storage facilities, the management companies, that kind of thing, and of course the managers themselves. And that was kind of my goal as well in delivering something like this for the summits, because I feel a lot of times in my industry, the managers are kind of the backbone of they're in this, they're in the trenches day to day, but they don't get exposed to a lot of this information. So that was really what I was really trying to go after, is providing that to them in the best ways, because they can't go to these physical conferences. Well, deliver to you on your computer. So I'll bring the conference to you.
yeah, I love that idea. Actually, that's a really good one. So what's your goal with the summit? Like, what are you hoping to get out of running the summit?
Uh, Initially, it was building a list. Quite frankly, that was the initial goal. Because I've done all sorts of different kind of marketing in the past. I'm kind of a one-man show when it comes to that kind of thing. So I've done trainings, and I do as much as I can on social media to bring people into my funnel, I guess you want to put it that way. But I just kind of keep hitting a roadblock of I want to build it more than that. So it was the list building is what initially was intriguing to doing this kind of a thing for the virtual summit. And when I keep hearing, yeah, because I've talked to other people doing summits in the past, I'm like, yeah, there's no other way of better use of your time of building that list than the platform of a virtual summit.
Excellent. And I agree with you 100% right there. So what is it you do with the list? Do you have services for owners or managers, or like talk me through what you're going to do with that list?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's over the last about 3 or 4 years. I have a management company. That's pretty one-on-one kind of. It's I got to be kind of here in my area. I'm here in Utah, kind of here in surrounding states. So I've done a lot as I can online as well. So it's kind of funny because now I'm going to start packaging this stuff after the fact the conference comes out. But I have a course that I've put together, so I definitely want to be able to market that course. That's out there for storage managers. Have a book as well. I can push that book out as well. So there's some products I've done over the years that are just kind of one off, and then they're gone. I do one thing and they're gone. They don't have legs with it. So again, kind of kudos to you. I was listening to one of the episodes and it was talking about how after the summit's over with, well, now what? So I can kind of plug in this course and some of these other things that I have going on after the fact and give it some more legs.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want to have a post-summit profit strategy. It is a common, it is a common mistake, if you will, is we usually don't think past the summit because we're so focused on making the summit do well that a lot of summit hosts forget that, oh, wait, I should actually have something prepared or planned. So that's great that you're already kind of aware ahead of that. So this gives me a good idea on what you got going on, what you're trying to do with this. So let's kind of jump into what specific questions or areas or thoughts do you want me to kind of help you with?
Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of in the thick of it right now. I just started, last week interviewing my first presenters, and again, thank you for the good timing for the the perfect intro, because literally I got the perfect intro, and like an hour later, I recorded my first presentation with somebody. So it was perfect timing. It worked out really well. So I'm doing the interviews and all that. That's fantastic, but it all comes down to marketing, quite frankly, of getting it in front of people. I mean, otherwise, what's the point? It can be really good value, have all this great information, but if I can't get it in front of the right people, then, well, that's a lot of wasted effort. So that's really for the marketing part of it. And I'm just kind of playing around right now with how much on social media, how much for email lists and sending emails out. So I'm kind of playing around with that of what's the best use of my time to kind of really focus on time, energy, and money, and all that kind of stuff.
And so, also just a reference for what Jim was talking about is we have our Interview Like a Pro free training series that helps summit hosts improve their interview skills, because the success of your summit depends on the impact of your interview. So you can check that out over at interviewlikeapro.com to see what he's talking about there with the perfect intro. Now, I'm really glad to hear that. And I do remember seeing you submit your video, and I think it was one of the first, actually. And I remember telling my partner, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm talking about right here. This is so concise and so on point. So I'm really excited I'm actually excited to see your summit go live so I can see the interviews as well. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the marketing aspect, then let's look at a couple pieces of it. First off, your goal, the primary goal is list build, right? Secondary is monetization, or monetization first? Okay, so primary is
list build. It really is. Yep.
Okay. And then, just as a secondary thought, we can either get into it now, or just make sure you're like thinking about it, is because monetization is important. You do want to make sure you are creating some kind of post-summit profit strategy with your book, with your course, or, just offering something else in between. But just make sure, because there's no, like, if we focus on list building, there are certain aspects that we want to focus on, and we don't want to make it too sales heavy on the front end, but we do want to make sure that we are allowing them to continue on the customer journey. And that involves having, like, buying something as well. So from the marketing aspect, of course, you're going to include social media. You're going to include, emails, of course. That's going to be the primary thing. If the goal is to build the list, our number one aspect is getting our speakers and or affiliates to promote. If you have any kind of groups or organizations that you're a part of or that are in your industry, getting them on board. We can always do, in kind or free sponsorships in order for promotion aspects, if there's like bigger groups. And if there's conferences, for example, that actually host big conferences and have audience lists already, sometimes you can bring them on. So there's a couple ideas as far as collaborating with people to help get it out. Now, as far as social media goes, like, social media is great. We want to use social media. It's really good for social proof and getting some engagement, but it's not very great for getting people into the list. It takes something like 6 to 7 contacts on social media, like them seeing it and going to it, before the opt-ins happen. Now, we always include it, but it's usually secondary. Like, our focus is email. So with that being said, your speakers, do they have audiences? Do they have lists in like the target, like the group or audience you're going after? Tell me more about that.
Yes, and I was a little strategic about that when I was first allowing people, like, okay, you'll be good, you can come in, that kind of thing. They do have lists. Exactly how big, I don't know. But in my storage world niche, I know their names, and I know that they're out there speaking, and they got a list. So that kind of leads me to, and I've created some graphics, like with my face as a host and their face, as a presenter. I've given that to them as a tool. Actually, I have like an affiliate link kind of thing that they can send out as well. But I haven't really given them as far as, I want you to post this many times or send this how many times to your list, because I'm kind of afraid of like overstepping my bounds and that kind of thing. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of direction I should give to them as far as how to promote it.
Let's jump into that then. That's a good topic. So first thing I'll say is list. We need to kind of get an idea of your list potential. This is a common kind of cloudy area for summit hosts, is what you may be wanting, like expecting, and what you may get may be completely off. Now, you can have an idea of what that's going to be by trying to calculate a list potential. So essentially, what a list potential is the total cumulative list size of everybody that's going to promote. Now, we don't include anybody that's not promoting, because obviously we don't have any potential of reaching those people. Now, the list potential, we're obviously, if we're taking everybody's list in there, we're not going to be able to reach all of those, but that's the list potential. Usually it's about a 5% in an untapped market, though, probably like yours that has not seen many of these type of things. It's going to be even higher. It'll probably be closer to like 7 or maybe 10%, but in more saturated niches or industries, it's closer to about 5%. So what I mean by that is, if we have 10 speakers and they each have a list of approximately, you don't have to know exact numbers, but usually you can gauge like off of social media and things like that. Or, you can always just ask. If they have a list of, let's say, average of 5,000, that means we have a list potential of 50,000. Okay. And then if we were going to take the conversion of that is 5%. So if I just calculate that, because I am not good at math here, if we take 50,000 times 5%, that means we're looking at about 2,500 leads. Okay. And that's approximate. That's not like a hard fast thing, but that's just an estimate. So the reason I talk about this is because a lot of times summit hosts will go, okay, I want 10,000 people. And they'll get 30 speakers maybe, but only 3 of them are promoting. So their list potential is maybe only 10,000, which means they're only looking at a couple hundred leads. And then they're like, why didn't my summit perform? It all goes back to the speakers and getting them to actually promote. Now, as far as like feeling like you're stepping over your boundaries, one, you're not by any means, because you're providing an absolutely phenomenal opportunity for them. So it's what we call collaborative marketing strategy, and it's only collaborative if everybody is participating in the success of it. Okay. And that's how I like to talk about it is like, look, this is a collaborative marketing strategy. They're going to be pushing it. You're going to be pushing it. I'm going to be pushing it. Now, with that being said, ideally, hindsight 2020, we always let our speakers know up front what's in it for them and also what's in it for the rest of us too. So usually we'll have like either a speaker sheet or like a speaker page like online where we send them to once they're interested. That kind of gives information on the summit, like who the target is, what it's about, what we're looking for, social proof, but also here's what we're going to give you, an opportunity to build your list, 50% affiliate commission, whatever, on anybody you send, and all these extra amazing goodies, whatever you want to add to them. Again, creativity is always ideal. Now, with that being said, we then say, since this is a collaborative marketing strategy, it means we all need to collaborate, and what we would expect from you is 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, whatever amount of emails you want to send. Usually we ask for 3 to 4, okay? Now, here's the big difference. And then we'll ask for a handful of social media promotions, like social media posts. But again, don't let them wiggle out and go, oh, okay, I'll do the social media, because that's great and it looks good, but it doesn't generate leads, okay? It looks good. It's better for conversions on the summit because they're seeing, okay, everybody's doing this, but it doesn't typically convert into leads. So you really have to get them to promote via email. Now, with that being said, we want them, like, when we never want to do this in a sleazy way. So I'm not about like sending my first email and it's like, hey, Jim, I'm Mark, I'm running this summit and you should be on it because my audience is going to be big. The summit's going to have 10,000 people and I'm going to put you in front of them. But I expect you to send out 3 or 4 emails and you need to have a minimum list of 5,000. Like that totally feels like I'm just molesting you, right? Like that's not fun. Nobody likes that. Yeah. So we never do that. We always, what I try and say, and I have to be a little forward on that because a lot of people are a little bit timid on asking. So I need you to know you can ask. But we're going to do it in a polite and respectful way. And the way we do that is making it by providing value to them first. So you want to find out if your speakers have anything coming up, anything that you can help them with, make any kind of like agreements, collaborations. This also is beneficial for future partnerships because if they see it's a two-way street, then they're going to be open for other things, which is really where we want to go. The other thing is what else can you add of value to them? So I'll say this. Well, I'll say, what can you add of value? So again, creative is key. Like maybe you have some trainings you've created in the past that you can give them that'll benefit them, or you can give them for their teams. Like, here's all the things I'm going to give you, and this is what I would like to ask in return. So I'm providing value before I ask for value. The second aspect of it is going to be when we're talking with the speakers is, categorizing the speakers. Okay. Are there some speakers that you're like, I really need this speaker to email? And that one, it would be okay, but it's not going to be as impactful. So we can classify or categorize speakers. So of course, we talk about anchors being like the face or the name that everybody knows. Those are typically not the people that are going to promote. We're getting like 1 or 2 of those mainly kind of to use as expert leverage for the rest of us. But then our featured speakers are the ones right below that. We can have VIP speakers or featured speakers. Those are the ones we're like, look, I'm going to give you more than I'm going to give the rest of them, but it's mandatory that you promote. But with that being said, we're going to give them really good value. And there's lots of things you can give them that don't cost money and that you don't even have to create. For example, you have a brand new list. That's like one of the most valuable things in the world. So you can give them access to that list either by letting them do a promo, like you could do a partner webinar to that list with the featured speaker. You could let them do promotional emails to that list. You could let them come in to that new group maybe that you make and do Facebook Lives. Like you can let them do things to that list, which is extremely valuable. Now, the one thing I will say is make it at least 30 days after, like put that in there. Like those things will happen 30 days after because you want to drain every drop of amazing goodness from that list first, right? You should get the rewards. So, but then after that, it's fair game. It's cool. Like why not, you know, like you're going to go through that list in your post-summit profit strategy in that next 30 days. And then after that, let's bring, like, again, collaborative marketing strategies. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. I already got some things sparking in my mind just from going through that. So that's fantastic.
So if you do that, they're going to promote. And then, but you want to give them some clear guidance on it. And so the way I like to do it, again, I said, you can make a speaker sheet. So you can create like a PDF with the information, or you can put it on a web page. Like I like to record a video of me talking through it and then information. So it seems a little more personal and not like I'm just demanding it. But by doing that, then it's official and they have guidance too. Like they know that, okay, they want 4 emails and X amount. It's like not unclear. Because the worst thing, and this is not a speaker's fault, is if you're not clear on what you expect or what they're supposed to do, it's not their fault if they don't do it because they didn't know, right? So that's what I would say from that aspect.
Check out the speaker management tool inside your Virtual Summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Okay. Communication, got it. Want to be mindful of our time, but this actually just came to my mind as we were just talking about as far as leveraging a list. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you think about this. Again, in my industry, you know, there's vendors, obviously, a lot of vendors that supply their services, you know, to my industry. Mm-hmm. They have a list. They got a big list. I'm just thinking of this strategy as far as not taking money as a sponsorship, but saying I'll put your logo, or whatever, and drive it to your page in return that you send the information about the summit to your list. That could work, right?
Absolutely.
Strategy? Yeah.
So when like I did an entire workshop on sponsor strategies.
Yeah.
I'd recommend you check that out because we go in depth on the different aspects of sponsors, just because I go way more in depth than we'll have time for here. But what I would highly recommend is definitely doing that, especially if you're not worried about monetization up front and you know they have large audiences. There's multiple different ways that you can get the sponsors as well on board. You can actually give them a promotional session on the summit, right? They can get a 15, 10, 15, 20, and you can tier those, right? The top one can get a 30-minute session or 2 10-minute sessions throughout teaching or talking about their stuff, or it could be a full-on sales thing. You could let one sales aspect be on there. Nobody's going to be upset about that. And then like second tiers down, they can't sell, but they can teach something, right? So they can teach something about their service or their product or whatever. And again, in exchange for them promoting it to their list. And then of course you'll put their logo up, but you can also let them during the summit, like leading up to the summit, you can let sponsors send out like a solo email to the people who have registered for the summit. Like, well, you would be sending it out, but you'd be sending it out on behalf for the sponsor. And of course it would be like, we want to thank the sponsor for being a part of the summit and their amazing resources here. And they're providing 25% off of this during the summit. Check them out here. So like as a sponsor, those are all really, really great opportunities as well. And most of them would be interested in being involved. The only thing is you got to sometimes help them understand what a summit is and how it's going to work and things like that. So
I'm already coming across that because I'm actually the first in my industry to be doing this. I've looked, we've talked, and yeah, I admit. So that's been a part of it, is getting over that hurdle of just education of it's an online conference, and just trying to put it in terms that they can understand and wrap their mind around of like, this is the opportunity. So that's huge. Just getting that conveyed to them of what this really is.
Absolutely. And what my experience has shown me, for most people, especially in a niche like what you have, like a smaller niche or a niche that's not used to like the typical online marketing strategies or techniques that are out there, is this is an opportunity to essentially crush it. And usually the first one does good in these kind of niches. Like honestly, most summits in normal niches, like saturated niches, their first summit's not their best summit. The second one's not that great either. Usually the third and beyond is like the best summits they do. In small niches, or not necessarily small, but in niches that aren't used to these kind of techniques, the first one is usually pretty good and the second one is outstanding, because everybody else then hears about it after the fact. And then you have speakers coming out of the woodwork. You've got sponsors. So what I would say to you is be ready. Already be thinking of the next one, because when they're reaching out, you can start saying, oh, no problem. I can schedule you in here, but I got to see if we have space. Now it gives you like negotiation and influence status, you know.
Yeah.
So just be ready and kind of have something tentatively scheduled. Also, because all of these speakers are going to have, like in these kind of niches, on the first one, they're like, because they're not being hit up every day by 100 people asking them to do this, right? They're going to go, this was genius. Jim, you're the man. Anything you need, let me know. So be ready to follow up right away with them. Be like, you know what? This went so well. We're going to do another one. Do you want to be a part of that too? And boom, now you start to, you know, you'll have that experience under your belt, and you can start to make even like better, like kind of decisions or requirements of them and things like that. So be thinking of that too.
I will, and that's actually kind of come up. That's why I was saying at first, this first one was kind of a big, broader topic for a summit. But I already have things planned. I'm like, okay, this next one's going to need a little more narrowed on what exactly I want to accomplish, you know, who that audience is, and what, you know, kind of that story arc you were talking about. I can really get much more focused on that and have it be 5, 6, 7, you know, presenters. I can do that every other month or quarterly or something like that. So that's already come up. People are like, okay, well, I can't be in this one. I'll only be in the next one. So yeah, it's kind of fun watching that process fold, you know, come to play.
It makes sure, like with that, like that was actually a thought I had at the beginning of this episode, is that you want to, like, cause you were talking about the managers, how they don't get access to this stuff and these type of things. You can actually create like the 1-day summits, like we've talked about, and take those into specific trainings that you can then create these 1-day summits on specific techniques or aspects in your industry. And then use these then can go on the Ever Summit mode, right? And anybody can get into that and then goes through the post-summit profit strategy. Those become really profitable strategies. They're not as big as like a list builder, a big event, but they're like an ongoing money monetization strategy. The other thing I'll say with this one, with it being broader, like normally I would spend a lot of time like niching down, but you've already got this thing laid out. What I would make sure you do with your audience is you communicate clearly what they should be doing, because one of the negatives when it is broader is the audience gets confused. They're like, well, what am I supposed to be watching? Like, what did I miss? Like, there's no like true guidance, or they feel like they are missing stuff. So what I like to do when I have more generic summits, or meaning larger, like multiple categories and themes or topics, is I like to let the audience know right away, like, look, I don't expect you to watch all of this. It's not actually meant for you to watch all of it. I've provided all of these different strategies so that whatever you need is here. So consume what you need and don't worry about the rest. That way it removes a little bit of the stress off of them and they feel better about it. Otherwise they go, oh, Jim put so much in here. I want to watch it all, but I can't watch it all. Now I'm angry. Like, don't be angry. It's okay. Goose fraba. Just take the things you need, right? So make sure you communicate that. And the other thing, that is coming out in our Summit Stories program is definitely have summit recaps. So like at the beginning of the day, have a recap, just the highlights. Don't go through and mention every single thing. Think of Netflix, right? If you're watching a series on Netflix, every episode has a recap of the last 5 episodes, so you know what you need to know for that day. So they don't include everything from every episode. They just include the parts you need to know for this episode. So think of your summit like that. If there's things that they need to know to be more successful today, include it in a recap. And then they don't also feel as bad for missing a day or missing a session but
Yeah.
it also creates interest. They're like, ooh, wait, what was that? Maybe I do want to see that, which encourages them to do the all access pass.
Okay. No, that's big because I don't know. There's gonna be a lot there. So I definitely have set the expectations of, it's not for everybody, but this is what, if you're interested in this subject, here you go. So that's big.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely start recording that as time moves on here.
Because the end of the day is like, we just need to make our audience happy, right? They want to be happy. They want to have an experience. They want to be entertained, and they want to be educated. And if we can do all of those together, then we have a viral summit. Like if we can do a couple of those, we have a good summit. Okay. So that's why I just throw those out there. It's not that you're going to be able to do everything at this point, but also this won't be your last summit. So the next one you do, you'll have all these little tactics going into it. So.
Oh, that's great. I got one more question. We got time.
Yeah, we got 7 more minutes.
Great. Just as far as we talk about, email marketing, I'm actually putting together a list at the moment because I'm right now recording this. I'm about 60 days out, so clock's ticking. I'm getting that list put together, an email list of just letting them know, hey, this is the summit that's coming. Register. Is there, I know it's not a tried and true formula, but do you have any recommendations on how often I should be sending that same message to that list to get them to register? Because if I send it out once, some will take it, some won't, obviously. So I'm just curious how many times I can hit them with that message to push them to register.
This is to your list to get them to go on to the summit. So they haven't registered yet. Because if it's people who've registered for the summit, email them every day. But to get them on it, honestly, how far out in advance? You said 30 days or 60?
I'm 60 right now.
60 days out. So 60 days out, honestly, when it comes to summit promotions, whether it's social media or email, really anything out for 4 weeks out is not worth it. You're going to lose it. You're going to get people in there, but like, it's just the attention or urgency, right? It's like, they're like, oh, that's cool. I'll get back to that. Like 4 weeks out, it's just a waste of an email. Like you're better off promoting something else. Unless you don't have anything else to promote, then go ahead and send one out. Like once a week is good, leading up to that. Now the summit, like prime time, the time when the list is when you really want to be promoting is 2 weeks and down. 2 weeks and 1 week. It's a hockey stick curve. And because honestly, there's nothing they need to do more than like 3 days out anyways, right? 5 days out, etc. And so people are busy. They're like, ooh, that's cool. It's 2 weeks out. I'll remember to get it. And then they don't remember, right? So, but the 2 weeks in, it's like a hockey stick curve. We see the conversions go up dramatically. Now, with that being said, how you email is think of this like a story. Like we're always talking about with stories. Instead of promoting your summit, tell a story. Because people like to be entertained. So you could email them every day if you were telling a story. Right now, I'm not saying you should email them every day to get them to register, but a week out, I'd email them 3 or 4 times that week. 2 weeks out, I'd email them at least 2 to 3 times. And then anytime before that, maybe once a week. But if you do it like a story, nobody cares. Like they don't get mad that you're emailing them. People want to be entertained. What they get mad about is if they feel like you wasted their time. So if I open up an email and I read it and I'm like, like that was a waste of my time for whatever reason, now I'm annoyed or agitated, right? So all you have to do, the way we do this is you think of your audience and what do people love? What entertains people the most? Drama, mystery, and confrontation.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
So what we want to do, and I'm not saying you do all of those, right? I'm just saying this is what entertains people the most, right? If I come up to you and I say, oh my God, did you hear what they did last week? You're like, what, right? You have to know. Like you don't even know who I'm talking about, but you want to know because that's human nature. I'm a big psychology guy, right? So we're always looking at psychology. So the way you want to do that is look at who your target audience or avatar is. Maybe there's one, maybe there's multiple. Hopefully there, pick at least the biggest or best one. And then what we like to do is usually we would go, what problem is your summit solving? Like what's the main pain point? And we would focus in on that, right? So you should think about that. What's the main pain point that it's solving? Who's the avatar? And now here's what I like to do for stories. This also helps me get really clear on my messaging, and also it helps with the avatar. Like we do this usually in the planning stages, is I like to look at 2 or 3 critical moments in that person's life that led them up to the moment of where they are with me, not where they're at with after me. A lot of people like to focus on, this is what life will be like after you meet me. Well, like right now I'm here. I don't care about that. So for example, one of my one-on-one coaching clients, he's in the lifestyle family entrepreneurship niche, right? So he wants people to be focused on family, but also be entrepreneurs. So we talk about like the 3 points in that person's life or journey is when they decide they want to quit work and go on their own, and having that first conversation with their wife who's pregnant and saying, I'm going to quit my job that's paying for everything, right? What was that conversation like? If you can tell that story, your avatar who's going through that same situation goes, yep, I remember having that conversation. And then the next one is handing in your 2-week notice to your boss. How did that feel like? Tell that story, because what we want to be talking about is the emotional triggers, the emotional feelings. We don't want to tell about the week leading up to it and the month after. We want to talk about the one moment when I handed, like the one story where I handed in my 2-week notification. And then what about the story of when, oh my gosh, I'm realizing that maybe this isn't going to work out and I'm going to have to go back and tell my boss I failed. What were you feeling at that moment? So if you can find those type of moments in your avatar's journey that's leading them up to needing your services and talk about those stories, they will consume anything and everything you put out, and they won't say stop. They'll say, give me more. So honestly, that's really what it comes down to, and that's where you want to focus on.
Gotcha. No, that's great. In fact, as you're talking, I was writing notes because I already have 3 or 4 stories I could tell right off the bat that people can relate to. So,
and you don't have to come up with, you don't need 100 stories, right? You can take 3 stories or 4 stories, and you can tell them across all platforms. You can tell them in your email. You can tell them on your summit. You can tell them in examples when you're doing interviews, and you can also tell them like in your Facebook groups or whatever groups you have. And you can use the same stories. You just tell them from a little bit different angle, or you focus on a different point, because then you start to get really fluent with that story. And you also get really fluent with that avatar. And when you get to that point, the people, your audience, your avatar, like the goal is to have them shaking their head on the other side of the email or on the other side of the video. And when you get to that point, you don't need credibility. You don't need credentials. You don't even need to convince them. They go, you know me. I want you to help me with whatever you're doing because you know me. And that's what I ultimately want, is somebody who knows me and can help me.
Gotcha. Great. No, that's perfect. That helps me formulate some emails already in my head. I'll get that going. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to wrap this up. Do you have any kind of last, like high level things you need me to pull together for you? Or is that pretty good?
No, that definitely helps. It's there's a lot to it. Let's just put it that way. But I've kind of learned that you just take one thing at a time and focus on that one thing and check it and move on to the next thing. So having this has been tremendously helpful. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So we're going to wrap this up now. Before we actually pull it all together and close it down, Jim, I'd love for you to just go ahead and give our audience, our aspiring summit hosts, some kind of inspiration or motivation for them who are thinking about getting started with the summit.
Oh, geez. I mean, just do it. I mean, quite frankly, like I said, I had the idea and then I put it out there, and within 30 minutes, I was getting feedback from it. And that just fed like, okay, this could be onto something. So just don't overthink it. If you think it might be a good idea, you have that idea for a reason. Just try it. Too many other people kind of talk themselves out of stuff. So yeah, that's lost opportunity. So just get out there, just try it, and see what happens. Just get out there.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for that. And thank you again for being so open, transparent, letting us dig into this. We appreciate having you here with us.
I'm an open book. This is awesome. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. And thank you, Summit hosts, for being here and spending this time with Jim and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software. And remember, your message matters. So go out there, make an impact in the world. Don't forget to check out the show notes over at podcast.virtualsummits.com/093. Check out all the goodies and free resources we got over there. And I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.